The stages of listening to Boise State Public Radio podcasts. Step 1, testing the waters. You tune into an episode or two. Nothing too serious. Step 2, you got a little hooked on one of those series like Extremely American or Scandalized, and now you're binging. No judgment, but you did listen to it in one day. Step 3, now you're subscribed to a feed. You get notifications to your phone every time there's a new daily episode of The Connector or Idaho Matters. I see where this is going. Step 4, you realize how much time you're spending with Boise State Public Radio podcasts and the fact that it doesn't cost you a dime. Step 5, you decide to step up and support your podcast listening because you can, because you want to, not because you have to. All right, now's the time, you podcast fan you. Go to boisestatepublicradio.org and click donate to support your love of Boise State Public Radio podcast listening today.
From Boise State Public Radio, this is The Connector. It's Idaho's Daily News. Good morning. I'm George Prentice. When will this fog and this air stagnation finally clear out? Well, we'll check in with the Weather Service. Plus, some of Idaho's top economists look into their crystal ball. They're thinking about fiscal year 2026. And we'll ask, what are the chances that Ashton Jeanty from the Boise State football team might take home the Heisman Trophy this year? It is Tuesday, the 10th of December, and here are today's stories. The Treasure Valley morning commute is again draped in thick fog, and there are some slippery roads in the region. Josh Smith is at the National Weather Service office in Boise.
Yeah, we're experiencing some dense fog pretty much from Ontario through Boise this morning. That's just a continuation of the inversion that we've been seeing the last 5 or 6 days. So we've got reports of dense fog and a little bit of icy roads, maybe a little bit of flurries falling as well in some spots.
And indeed, I experienced all of that. So the fog, will that burn off by early afternoon maybe?
We're thinking around the Boise area that, yes, we have a shot to see some sun today, but if you're in Ontario through Nampa, maybe even parts of Meridian, you may not be as lucky.
And the air stagnation, will that stick around a little longer as well?
Yeah, we're looking for the air stagnation to stay through Thursday. We're not going to see much change in this until like Thursday afternoon time period.
Okay, so what is the official forecast, say, for today and tomorrow?
So for today, we're looking at like the mid-30s here today and tomorrow. Like I said, we might see a little bit of clearing here in Boise, but I'd expect anywhere from Boise through Ontario, we're going to be in the stratus and fog for the next couple of days. But higher up, we're going to see some clearer skies. Temperatures might warm into the 40s, mid-40s or so, like at Bogus Basin.
My new favorite weather word is scour. So will any of this scour out anytime soon?
We're hoping we're going to have a little system that comes through on Thursday that might bring us a little snow. It's not going to really scour out anything, but we're hoping by like Friday, Saturday time period, that we'll have a system come through that could help push out this inversion and bring us some precip.
That's Josh Smith at the National Weather Service office in Boise. There are a number of year-end traditions, many of them light of fare. A select few are quite straightforward, even sobering. On Monday, it was time for the annual gathering of the Idaho Economic Estimate Commission. According to Idaho Code, the commission, prior to January 1st, will publish its estimate of Idaho's total personal income for the following fiscal year. So given that we're currently in fiscal year 2025, they're talking about fiscal year 2026. Yesterday saw a steady stream of statistics coming from economists across the state. As an example, Dr. Carl Geisler from Idaho State University, tracking how and why Idaho has been surpassing the U.S. in financial growth.
If we kind of start the clock back at 2005, we grow pretty much with the U.S. overall. And then starting 2018 or so, our growth has really accelerated much faster than national growth. We didn't have as big of a dip in the pandemic as the U.S. as a whole, and we recovered faster and are continuing to grow. If you just look at the last couple of years, this trend in the last, say, 2022 to present, we're growing much, much faster.
As for the future, yes, the T word was uttered in the wake of this year's presidential election and promises coming from President-elect Trump. Here's Idaho Power's Jordan Pasinos reminding the panel yesterday about tariffs that will have consequences coming from both directions.
The tariff is paid by the U.S. company, which is going to get passed on to the consumer directly. So it's not paid by China. And so the other side of that equation to tariffs that we impose is their rebuttal attack to us. Are they going to target specific industries in response to those increased changes in tariffs?
And all of it ultimately impacting employment. And while Idaho has been doing well of late, the number of Idahoans without a job has been going in the wrong direction lately. Again, here's Dr. Geisler.
You can see that in the pandemic, we had this drop in labor force. Unemployment spiked, but came back down pretty well. But we've kind of seen levels here. It's kind of jumps a little and then slows down and then jumps a little and slows down. But we have seen over the last few years, the unemployment rate in Idaho slowly start to tick up.
In fact, Idaho's current jobless rate is above the state's 5-year unemployment rate average. The commission reconvenes today. In sports, a rather different competition. For the second time ever, a Boise State football player is a finalist for the Heisman Trophy, college football's most prestigious honor for an individual. Now, the previous nominee didn't win the Heisman, but as Troy Oppie reports, Ashton Jeanty has a pretty good chance to take home that trophy.
Jeanty is a frontrunner for the award alongside Colorado's Travis Hunter, who plays both offense and defense. Quarterbacks Cam Ward of Miami and Dylan Gabriel of Oregon are also finalists this year. Jeanty would be the first Heisman winner from a non-major athletic conference school in 34 years. He seems to know that trivia. Here's what he told ESPN shortly after being announced as a finalist.
Having this underdog story and, being at a group of 5 school and, it's kind of being overlooked all the time. So I think it would be big, not just for me, but big for the community of Boise, all my teammates, this program.
Boise State quarterback Kellen Moore finished 4th in the Heisman voting in 2010, behind winning quarterback from Auburn, Cam Newton, and Stanford's Andrew Luck. BSU's Moore, despite his success, was never thought to have a realistic chance at winning. Jeanty, the rushing yards and touchdown leader in college football this year, has a real shot with the more than 900 media and former Heisman winners who get to vote. The Heisman Trophy ceremony in New York will be Saturday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time on ESPN. Troy Oppie, Boise State Public Radio News.
Say our winter fundraising drive is going to be a one-day event tomorrow, but to kick things off, if you can make a gift today, it will be doubled. Today, this one-for-one match ends at midnight tonight. Give us a call, 800-359-8411, 800-359-8411, or make a gift online at boisestatepublicradio.org. You support The Connector, all of our local coverage, and so much more. Thank you so very much. I'm George Prentice. We'll see you back here Wednesday. And thanks for listening.
We could all use a little help navigating the news these days. The Consider This podcast wants to give you a hand. 6 days a week, we'll help you make sense of the day's biggest news story and what it means for you in less than 15 minutes. Listen now to the Consider This podcast from NPR.